Judge Nkosinathi Chili will take over from Judge Koen in President Jacob Zuma's corruption trial. Koen recused himself, saying there may be reasonable apprehension of bias in how the case has been treated. The judge says it's in the interest of justice that he withdraws from the matter. Senior reporter Dasen Thathiah joins us now from Durban for more on this issue. Dasen, thank you so much for joining us. This is quite a big upset. Talk to us about the details of why the judge felt he had to withdraw on this reasonable apprehension of bias, which my understanding means it could be perceived that he's taken a position on this case.
You hit the nail on the head, Sal. That's exactly what it is. It's not necessarily bias, and that is what Judge Koen said. He said that it's not to say that he is biased, but it's the perception and how Zuma's legal team could perceive his actions and his strong words that he had, especially during the time of his judgment on that special plea that Zuma's legal team had submitted in 2021 that was to get rid of the lead prosecutor in this matter, Advocate Billy Downer. And it's because of that, he says that the law allows for this, for a judicial official to recuse themselves, even if there is that apprehension of bias. And that's exactly what he did. And I guess it really now takes out the elephant in the room, really. It clears the path in a certain sense. It's the second such action, if you look at the Concord decision last month as well. And it kind of clears the way now for the trial to begin. So he's removed himself from that equation. And he's now, I guess, allowed the trial to continue. And all of this was really self-initiated. And this is what he stressed. But he also, today, in delivering that ruling, he also stressed the point that he still doesn't agree with the 14 issues that Zuma's legal team had raised, the reasons why they want Billy Downer removed. In effect, what they're saying is, and this is Zuma's legal team, they're saying that they don't want Downer there because he seems to have, to use a lay term, an obsession with this case, and he wants to pursue it for the purposes of a legacy rather than purely in the interest of justice. And that's why they are dead set on getting rid of him. But we had an opportunity to engage with some analysts on this issue. We wanted to find out what this actually means and what the implications are for the case. This is the view of one of those analysts, and Tabiseng Dubasana. Let's listen into what she had to say to us on the channel earlier.
We look at the situation that there is a current criminal matter against Billy Downer. This is going to be a recurring theme in the main case that we are dealing with, that Koen recused himself from today. That's going to be a recurring theme. And if the presiding officer doesn't deal with this decisively, whether or not to remove him. And remember, if he removes Billy Downer, even after they have pleaded guilty, remember, they made an application in terms of, I forget the section, but that section specifically says if the prosecutor is removed from that, then that case should be seen as if it is a non-guilty verdict. So it was a smart idea for them to put in this application after the pleading was done. Had they done it before, it would have been a different story. So if the presiding officer comes in today, says you can go, Billy Downer, then this matter goes away completely.
So we know that former President Zuma has a real issue with State Prosecutor Billy Downer. And we also know that private prosecution matter is still in process. Talk to me about Zuma's legal team and their next step now, because it sounds to me that with Judge Nkosinathi Chili taking over from Judge Koen, it's just going to continue the case, the actual corruption trial in April. Am I right?
Well, yes, so this is an opportune time actually for this recusal to have happened, and it's something that Judge Koen had also stressed and mentioned in court today. He said that this was the time for him to do this because they were at a point now where the trial was ready to start. Because remember, up until this point, it's been very little about the arms deal corruption trial and more about the pre-trial litigation, and that's what we've been seeing, the back and forth, the Supreme Court of Appeal, the Con Court, all of this starting with the appeal, the special plea in that very court, in Pietermaritzburg High Court. So all of that has been going on, but now it's at a point where there are also other things happening on the periphery. One of those is the private prosecution, which Billy Downer is fighting. It's something that he's trying to get scrapped. But despite that, that is, according to some analysts, they say that that should have no impact really on the case. Interesting, today in court, Zuma's legal team also said in that very brief sitting after the recusal, this was when Nkosinathi Chili had come in, Zuma's legal team saying that before this case comes back on April 17th, that the judge should expect another application, and it's possible then that they will be continuing their efforts to try to get Downer removed through these means, because the nature of the case has changed. But let's listen to what Mpumelelo Zikalala had to say to us. We chatted to him outside court after the case was done.
The door is not closed, because whenever you make an application, you then say, yes, you may have pronounced on this particular matter, on these merits and these facts. However, there are new developments that have taken place. Another way of putting it is, would you want to have a prosecutor who is an accused in another matter, intimately linked to this one, pertaining to certain things or in a manner in which he has acted in, adding on to the fact that there's already a complaint that's been made to the LPC, if there is, there's already a complaint that's been made to the NPA, the Director of Public Prosecutions. Do you want to continue with an NPA who is like that in this particular matter? Another thing, what is so special, for a lack of a better word, with this prosecutor that another prosecutor cannot do in order for this matter to move forward? Can you please consider that and maybe check whether it is an instance in which our court would then say you have a proper prosecutor that can be able to prosecute under these circumstances?
All right, so there's a new judge presiding over this long-running case that has taken so many years, but we should expect more action, is what I'm hearing, before that case sits down again in the middle of April. Dasen Thathiah, thank you so much for bringing us the very latest news there.